Peterson, Free Speech and Rise to Prominence. Welcome back to this extensive 10-part video series on the life and career of the controversial psychologist, author, and public commentator, Dr. Jordan Peterson. The first installment of this series provided an overview of Peterson's life and work. Here, we dig a little deeper down into his rise to prominence in recent years, specifically his emergence as an authority on free speech issues and how that played a central role in his emergence from university professor to internationally recognized public commentator. Peterson's rise was intimately connected to Bill C-16, a measure which was introduced by the Canadian government in the summer of 2016 to amend the Human Rights Act and Criminal Code in Canada. The bill sought to introduce legislation which would take account of major changes which have occurred in the field of gender identity during the early 21st century. In particular, the emergence of transgender rights and the issue of which pronouns should be used when addressing people had become an issue of concern in Canadian society, and the government sought to introduce legislation to deal with the issue. However, Peterson was vehemently opposed to the manner in which this was carried out, arguing that the legislation would compel him to use certain words in his day-to-day work as a professor at the University of Toronto. It should be clearly noted at this point that Peterson was not opposed to the usage of certain pronouns when relating to transgender individuals, or people who wished for certain pronouns to be used when speaking to others. He made clear in what followed that he was happy to use whatever pronouns an individual preferred. His objection to the legislation was owing to his concern about government overreach, forcing him to use certain words, or what he termed compelled speech. As such, Peterson was objecting on free speech grounds, rather than to the issues surrounding pronoun usage and transgender rights with which the bill was associated. Peterson's stance soon garnered widespread publicity, particularly after a video of him being confronted by a group protesting against his stance while on the University of Toronto's campus in October 2016 was uploaded. This subsequently went viral, and Peterson's impassioned defense of his position struck a chord with many viewers. Equally, others loathed it. But no publicity is bad publicity in the digital age. In addition, Peterson produced and uploaded a series of videos to YouTube outlining why he was opposed to the bill on the grounds it involving compelled speech, and he testified before the Canadian government in 2017, again asserting that his objection to the bill was on these grounds. It is perhaps an indication of the highly polarized politics of our time that Peterson's stance was taken out of context, and it was assumed he was objecting to the use of certain gender pronouns. Full stop. While the incident at Toronto in 2016 and 2017 propelled Peterson to national and then international prominence, what probably got lost in the noise was what exactly Peterson's view on free speech are. These were clearly laid out by him in a series of interviews which he undertook in the course of 2016, 2017, and 2018. Originally on college campuses, and increasingly thereafter in major media outlets in Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, and other countries. In these, Peterson highlighted how free speech is effectively inimical to the possibility of being protected from being offended. Much of left-wing political correctness in the early 21st century focuses on prohibiting people from saying things which will offend, or potentially offend, other groups. While Peterson was consistently anxious to highlight throughout this time that he didn't wish to overly offend any groups or treat their sensibilities on issues such as preferred gender pronouns with disdain, he was also clear that societies have to choose between free speech or the prohibition of things which people might find offensive. Free speech automatically implies the probability that you will be periodically offended, for the very simple reason that if you wish to be free to say things, you have to take the risk that others will say things which offend you. If you are an advocate of free speech, you simply accept that and move on. However, if you want to prohibit certain forms of speech in order to protect yourself from the possibility of being offended, well, then you are sacrificing the concept of free speech altogether. Thus, for Peterson, the issue was of a choice between these two things, and for him, it was always clear that free speech is inviolable and trumps other political concerns. So there you have it, our take on Jordan Peterson's views on free speech. explained as simply as possible. We hope you've enjoyed this installment in our series on Peterson and his work. If so, please tune into the next video where we discuss Peterson's best-selling 2018 book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos.